Mike, as Ashlyn Harris and Ali Krieger join us here, they're the hosts of the Most Important Thing podcast. It's available on the DraftKings YouTube channel. You just got done telling me, and I didn't hear you because some of what you said got clipped, that one of these women is the greatest interview that you did on the Chelsea Mic'd Up podcast.
Yeah, I really enjoyed my time speaking with Ali when I was doing that Chelsea podcast. She's a Chelsea supporter. I found her to be a really engaging interview. So if you drop the ball here, it's all on you.
Okay, well, or Ashlyn, because you didn't say it about Ashlyn.
I haven't had the pleasure.
To follow.
I know.
Well, I will start with Ali.
Oh, no, she's great.
We're
starting early.
I will start with Ali then, since she's such a great interview. And what I want to hear about is, before we get into soccer stuff, is all of the details that are relevant about your marriage in Miami in 2019.
Yes.
So give it up.
I mean, we got married at Vizcaya. It was so beautiful. We had all of our family and friends there. It was incredible experience. We wanted to do it all over again. The night was over way, way too quickly. It was actually the last party we really went to, since COVID. And it was like really the last huge get together that anyone had. So it was such a good memory for everyone, because that was really the last time anyone had really gotten together and partied and celebrated. And so we were really honored to host that final shebang for everyone. But it was an incredible weekend, and we had the best time. And there were so many important people there and in our lives, and we couldn't have been happier how the weekend turned out.
Probably a better wedding venue than whatever hovel Dan got married in down here in Miami. But I mean, all the women's soccer fans saw the Instagram stories from the wedding, and it looked like it was the party of the century. Like, everyone who was cool was there, and they were all on the dance floor.
You can still see it on YouTube. It's still up there. So if you guys, get really, really bored one night, just check it out.
Ashlyn, what can you tell us that you learned about United States men's soccer in the World Cup? What were your takeaways that will make for an enduring, echoing experience that actually grows U.S. soccer to a place that it has not yet been?
Yeah, I think that's a great thing to touch on, because they made us believe for the first time. And I think that's a really important thing to hit on, because for far too long, we've just had so much heartbreak and disappointment with our men's team. And I know the Federation and the US is investing so much into the culture of soccer. So they really showed us that it's something to invest in. They made believers out of us. They were an absolutely incredible, entertaining group to watch. And most importantly, they were great humans off the field. I thought they handled themselves with extreme class. We showed the nation that we can go toe to toe with the top 5 teams in the world. I think, unfortunately, we could have done better in the last game, but it's going to be a learning opportunity for these young men. And what a great predicament to be in, that all of these guys potentially could be playing in another 2 World Cups if we continue doing the right things and developing our young players. And I'm really excited for the future of men's soccer in our country.
Ali, how do you imagine you would have handled some of the lack of freedom in Qatar to say everything that you wanted, to take stances politically? Somehow it feels to me a bit like Qatar and their way of doing things not only win by being able to buy this thing, and they have no reason to have this thing beyond money, but also by suffocating all sorts of freedom of anything and everything.
Yeah, I think we would have taken obviously a different approach than the men's team. It would have been a lot different for us, because we are so used to speaking out and using our platforms for things that we believe in and that we want to fight for. And I actually don't think any of us would have traveled there, because we wouldn't have felt safe. But we would have written statements. We would have came together as a team, just like some of the other teams in the tournament, and shown, or protested against these awful laws that are surviving and still in their country. And so unfortunately, I don't really know how I would have really thought about that. I think that in the moment, because it is a World Cup, you want to play in a World Cup. It's the world's, biggest tournament on the biggest stage. But yeah, you don't feel safe. They have laws against, gay people, and they're very homophobic, and they're just not accepting of our lifestyle and culture and what we choose, how we choose to live our life. And so I don't know if I would have even gone, to be honest. And we would have definitely spoken up in every press conference possible, any chance that we would have gotten, to spread the word on how we stand and where we stand on all of these topics.
Ashlyn, are you disappointed that there wasn't more of that there seemed to be a smothering on human rights stuff and speaking freely with even the most benign of gestures?
Yeah, I'm actually extremely disappointed in FIFA. I think 10 years ago when they got the bid, these type of conversations should have been, determining whether we put a World Cup in a place like Qatar. It's just, for me, it doesn't make sense for FIFA constantly standing on the right side of progression, end quote, which clearly is a joke. But the fact that soccer's here to unite everyone. It is for everyone. There's no homophobia. There's no racism. Like, it is one sport that is about uniting everyone and creating safe spaces to just be yourself and play freely. And they missed the ball here, like, no pun intended, but they missed it. They really did wrong by a lot of people by allowing them to even be granted this opportunity when, to have like a rainbow wristband. People were having their Apple Watches removed at, it just, to me, it doesn't make sense. I am extremely disappointed in FIFA. And I think they're going to take a lot of heat when things start gearing up now for the women's side. I bet you so much money that these women are going to be hammering FIFA along the way, building into this World Cup because of the decisions that they made. And they really fell short. And I don't think we're putting enough pressure on them. Instead, we're saying, oh, guys, why didn't you speak out? Yeah, that's true. They should use their platform. But why are we even placing and giving and truthfully awarding in a country like this who's just not inclusive? It makes no sense to me.
How do we hold FIFA accountable? You say you're disappointed in FIFA, and it is perhaps the most corrupt organization in the world. I'm to the point where I'm like, I don't know if I can be disappointed in a crook being a crook. So how do you hold them accountable? That's the hardest part, right?
I think the people at the top, like presidents and our officials in the federation, need to speak up, and they need to write in and make these phone calls and really step up in the positions of power that they're in, and really try to create this change and create this movement for the safety of the players. I think that they are in the positions they're in order to create change, in order to make these FIFA officials really think about what they're doing and where they're allowing these tournaments to be played and hosted. So I do think that they have the most power to really change these officials in FIFA and their minds on the topic. So that's kind of where they need to start. They need to step up, and we as players can maybe put pressure on them to continue to do so. And then we'll just keep speaking out on our platforms as much as we can. But I don't know how much that really is going to change unless you come together and you refuse to play in tournaments where the country isn't as accepting.
It is a tough spot, though. Excuse me, Ashlyn. It is a tough spot, though, Allie, because you're saying, well, I probably wouldn't have just gone because of how impossible it is to be the person who's there and having the Olympic-sized World Cup moment of, oh, I'm going to be a freedom fighter here, and I'm going to risk a whole lot of danger by saying how I really feel in a setting where I've been told not to. I can't go do it there. The player, no matter how strongly the player feels, your only choice is, well, I'll sit it out, and that doesn't really do anything either.
No, it wouldn't be. You work your entire life for this moment. You work your entire life to play in the best tournament in the world and to be a part of a championship team, and you've worked way too hard to go to a place where they don't even accept who you are as an individual and a human being. And so that would actually be such a tough decision. And I can't imagine, some of the men who are queer, who maybe aren't out, who have played in the tournament in Qatar, and they, weren't feeling like themselves. I mean, I can't even imagine that they feel so, they feel unsafe, and that then affects the way that they play.
Ashlyn and then Allie, I heard you guys talk about this on your podcast, The Most Important Thing. You can find it on the DraftKings YouTube page or on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Can you speak to, since you've been part of the U.S. Women's National Team and in various FIFA World Cup cycles and Olympic cycles, can you speak to why the culture of women's soccer is different than men's? Like, why we can expect the women to come together and have solidarity and be part of these conversations, but we don't necessarily expect it from our men's team?
I can start. I just think in women's football, we stand on the right side of progression. If you look at the history of our ownerships and, our clubs, like we're not scared to ruffle feathers at the cost of losing everything. I mean, that you saw that when we filed a lawsuit against our own employer. Like, I just think women have had to fight so hard for every inch of anything in our culture that we know the importance of doing right by the people who are in the locker room, by the fans, the staff members, and we normalize queerness, I guess is the way I can put it. I don't feel that on the men's side. I don't feel that when you look at the NFL and you look at the MLS in terms of the people who own and run these teams, they're conservative people. They're mostly rich white Republicans who don't really sit and accept our lifestyle in general. So that trickles into the fans, that trickles into the culture that they create and the mindset that they create amongst the teams and how they're supported. And we just don't stand for that on the women's side. If someone's screaming foul language or using extreme hurtful language in the cheering section or in the locker room, we don't allow it. It just doesn't happen. And if it does, you're removed, and you're removed for good. There's no place in our sport for people like that. And I think this just also shows that if FIFA can't even stand up for the queer community, which I am sure there are gay men there, this just trickles down for them to say, this is exactly why I wouldn't come out. This is exactly why I don't want to say who I truly am, because I'm not even protected at this top level. How am I going to be protected in my locker room in the club level? So it's just the people at the top have to do better. And what I wanted to say, because I think this is really important, and we spoke about this in our podcast, there's no World Cup without the players. So the players have a lot more power than they think, and they can force change if they have to. It's just uncomfortable.
Ashlyn, are you disappointed? I thought Allie was gonna chime in there. Are you disappointed that the men showed up to the World Cup? It seems like you're a little bit disappointed.
I'm just disappointed that it's only convenient for people to be allies in moments that work for them. And whether that's Pride Month and we our men's team slapped a big rainbow flag on our crest. But for me, it's actionable steps. How are you showing up as an ally for this community by your actions, by taking a moment to, at the press conference to actually explain why that's important and why we're trying to create change around the world for acceptance of all. But we didn't do that. We just made it easy, and we just didn't want to have uncomfortable conversations. And it is disappointing because this is my community and we are discriminated against. And it's just really sad to see. I just feel like we missed the mark as a country.
I feel like when everyone listens, that's the most important, piece to this, is that everyone is watching this tournament. Everyone's watching the team. And that was a perfect moment for them to really step up and stand together and fight against hate. And we've seen them do it before in the MLS. They came together with a beautiful ceremony and movement for Black Lives Matter. And it was incredible, where everyone was watching, everyone came together and supported. And that was a moment, I think, that was a little missed now. there on the world's biggest stage with the world's best players. And I think that's where we are a little disappointed because, you know, men can multitask. They just choose not to. And in this moment,
Oh my God, so true.
it's a choice. Honestly, everything you do every day is a choice.
We're all agreeing with you. No.
So you can't say that you can, you know, not speak on one topic but play at the highest level and score goals. It's just it should be going hand in hand. You should be, you know, able as a human being move through the world and do two things at once.
Ashlyn, there are reports out there that Greg Berhalter and the U.S. Soccer Federation are going to enter contract extension talks. And internationally, World Cup cycles are basically as long as a manager has 4 years, no matter how successful or unsuccessful they may be. That is kind of the length of the job. Yet in the women's program and in the men's program, the U.S. Soccer Federation has opted for continuity. Longer stretches, and just even considering Greg Berhalter kind of speaks to the culture there. Why is the U.S. soccer program so different than some of these other international managerial positions? Like Luis Enrique just announced he is not going to be returning for Spain. It seems distinctly American, keeping managers in these international spots as long as we have.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that we have different expectations than Spain and Germany. I mean, unfortunately, that's just fact. We're not there yet. So if we go out in the round of 16, that looks like success in our country. We're celebrating our men's team for making it to a knockout round. Spain and Germany, that's a disappointment. That's like, you're fired, you're done. You couldn't get the job done. So I just I think we're getting there. And I think the expectation will slowly start to change as we continue to do well and at the highest level. But right now we just don't have that expectation. So if we don't qualify for a World Cup, or if, you know, it doesn't sting as bad, I guess, because the expectation is just totally different than a lot of these other cultures. And I know that's kind of harsh to say. I'm just hoping eventually I don't have to say that the expectation is to be a top 5 team, is to be in a semifinal and competing for a final in a World Cup. But right now we're just not there.
Adley, is that the wrong mindset for the U.S. men's national team to have? The fact that what Ashlyn says is, yeah, that's a job well done for Greg Berhalter to run it back, when the U.S., especially on the cusp of actually hosting the men's tournament in 3.5 years, should be aspiring for a culture change and a different type of mentality.
Absolutely. I think that the mentality needs to also have a higher standard than it has been in recent years, especially because we have improved, especially because we did make it out of the group and to be round of 16. I agree with Ash, though, that the expectation is a little bit different, and it has been ever since the beginning. And unfortunately, that's just where the team is at right now. And I think they think of it as a success getting out of the group and in the round of 16. They really do. And until we start moving past that, I don't think there will be much change. I think it also matters on how the players feel about the coaching staff as well. And that's always kind of reviewed after a big tournament like this. I'm hoping the mentality will just get stronger and stronger because you can see the players are getting better and better. And we have a really good group, a core group of young players, a good crop that are going to create this massive movement for better play, better mentality, a winning culture. I think it's just going to change dramatically over these next 4 years. And if I were like a 16, 17-year-old, I'd be looking into this team saying, listen, I'm going to be there. I'm going to make my mark. And it's only going to get better from there. But yeah, I think it does go hand in hand with the mentality of the team and the type of culture that they're creating.
We tell you again, the Most Important Thing podcast, it's available on the DraftKings YouTube channel. Stugotz is peppering me in the direct messages here, and I need to recruit Allie here and Ashlyn in Miami to help Stugotz pay a debt that is about 7 years old. He thinks he can make penalty kicks against a professional goalkeeper. And these women are accomplished champions, and I don't believe he can make penalty kicks against an accomplished goalkeeper.
Well, let's ask one. Ashlyn, you played goalie. If I took 5 PKs against you, I maintain...
No, let's not ask her. Let's get her to do
okay.
it
No
with
choice.
us.
Let's go. I'm up
what
for
does
the
she think?
challenge.
Okay. Well, I think 5 PKs, I could score at least 2 goals.
You're out of your mind.
All right.
You're out of your mind,
Let's
Stugotz.
set it up.
Is it
We're
a
right
bet?
around the
Is it a
corner.
bet? What are we putting on this?
Listen, my go-to move is to look away. You think I'm going to the left, I go to the right. I host a soccer podcast as well.
Don't show all your cards.
Okay.
Stugotz.
Okay.
That's why.
He always goes
It's
left.
usually right to left. Right?
How many would he make? How many would he make? For both of you.
I would say 5 with a beer in my hand and not spill it.
Oh my God.
Bang.
Oh my God.
Bang.
I mean, I am retired now, so I can say this.
Have you
I would
seen
say-
me play soccer? I mean,
She's looking at you. She's looking at you in the Zoom.
I do have a serious question about PKs. My dad has this theory that he's had for years. Kick it right down the middle. Kick it right down the middle.
'Cause they're
And-
going one way or the
because
other.
the goalie's the
Not
keeper's
against
already
Stugotz.
invested,
Not against
right?
Stugotz. She's
So-
not going to have to move
In
very
the
much.
Morocco Spain PKs, I think they 2 or 3 times they went right down the middle.
Hakimi.
Yeah.
Went right down the middle to seal it.
And my dad texted me, "Told you so." So, what do you think about that
Hey.
theory?
I mean,
dad's
that's
me?
risky. You got to be willing to look like an ass if it doesn't work out.
right.
Because that's something that's really gonna make you look really bad. If you do that and the goalkeeper doesn't move, it's embarrassing.
We're going to set it up.
If we do have this competition, I'd be willing to stand in goal and go
Oh,
up
she's
against you.
joining
Well,
in.
you didn't play goal. I'll score 4 off of you. I mean, come on.
I don't even think I'd need gloves.
Oh,
Absolutely,
geez,
you would not.
cocky.
You would not. No, I'm going to vouch, and no disrespect to you guys. It has nothing to do with your talents. It has everything to do with Stugotz. I don't think you can get one on goal. I don't think. I don't think
on
you.
goal.
I don't think. You,
I mean, on goal.
Yeah, I think you're missing wide.
I'll kick it right down the middle, like your dad
Ah,
said.
that a boy.
You
Ladies,
guys, it's so close you could trip and score.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But you're saying you wouldn't spill any beer. You would save all 5 of my shots without spilling
Put
any
me a
beer?
beer in my hand,
Oh, my God.
and I will make it happen.
all right, we will set it up, or we will do what we always do around here, which is talk about it and not actually set it up. Thank you for being on with us, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.